Welcome to the Tomorrow's World Today podcast. We sit down with experts, world-changing innovators, creators, and makers to explore how they're taking action to make tomorrow's world a better place for technology, science, innovation, sustainability, the arts, and more. And now, this week's episode.
Welcome to another episode of Tomorrow's World Today. On this week's episode, the host of Tomorrow's World Today on Science, George Davison, welcomes Kate Trumbull, Senior Vice President and Chief Brand Officer of Domino's Pizza. With over 13 years at Domino's, Kate is at the forefront of driving brand growth, enhancing their customer experience, and keeping the iconic pizza chain innovative and relevant. Join us as we explore the evolution of Domino's, the importance of teamwork, and how technology is reshaping the food delivery landscape. Are you ready to learn what it takes to lead a major brand like Domino's? Here's your host, George Davison.
Welcome, Kate.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, we're thrilled that you're here. Why don't we start with that title of yours? What exactly is a Chief Brand Officer?
Good question. My role and title is really around driving and building our brand at Domino's and growing our sales and orders and protecting the brand. So it's a lot about the end user, the consumer, understanding the consumer, and then bringing the brand to market. I've been at Domino's for 12 years, but was more recently appointed to Chief Brand Officer.
Okay, so you've been there 12 years.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us a little history lesson? How far back does Domino's history go?
I'd love to give you a history lesson. We were founded in 1960, right? And the story was Tom Monahan and his brother bought a little pizza shop in Ypsilanti, Michigan. It's called Dominick's, right? And they were really focused on how do we bring hot pizza to consumers' homes through delivery, get it to them fast and hot. That was the simple proposition. And 1 year into it, his brother James said, "Wait a second, this is too much. This is tough work. I'm working long nights. I'm not interested in continuing." So he got out of the business. Tom said, "Well, I got to give you something. I'm going to give you the VW Beetle that they deliver pizza in." So he gave him the Beetle, and Tom went on, and he kept moving, and we got to 3 locations in the Michigan area, and we changed the name from Dominick's to Domino's. They had a uniform name, and I love the story that our logo today, right, the domino with the 3 dots, we call them pips, that actually represented each of those 3 stores. And their vision and plan, Tom said, every time we add a store, we're going to add a pip, a dot to the logo. And they quickly realized that was not going to work just because, the growth took off and there was no way to have that many dots on the logo. So it's a little history lesson.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. We can't get all those dots on that domino.
No, and keep it simple on the dot standpoint. But even when they thought about operations and being able to deliver to consumers fast with hot pizza, they didn't have desserts, they didn't have sides. There was literally one kind of dough ball, one kind of crust, and Coke products. That's all they would do. And it actually allowed them to grow really, really fast.
Okay.
But you think about today, we have a huge, wide menu and selection, which has been a good thing for consumers from a variety standpoint.
So the simplification in the beginning, try to get your systems up and running, and then maybe over time we can get a little more complex and logistics can help us out.
Right, and it's like that. We always talk about the MVP, the minimal viable product. What do you have to have as your base, benefit to get it out the door? And then you build from there.
Yes.
You get small wins. So,
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's think here for a moment. Have you always been a senior vice president, or did you have to get started somehow in life like all of us who are in high school and we're wondering, what are we going to do with our lives? Where am I going to go? How am I going to navigate in this world?
Yeah.
Can you walk us back to high school for Kate? And what was going through your mind?
In high school, I really thought I was going to be a lawyer. That was what I thought, the tea leaves said for me. I was very into sports. I was into tennis and basketball, so very influenced by my coaches and, team building and, being captain of a team. So that was kind of what was going through my mind. I loved to learn. I was involved in a lot of different things, but I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
So is there a mentor in your life that opened your eyes to, let's say a world of possibility?
That's a great question. And I would say I had so many people that maybe I didn't think of them as a mentor at the time, but they truly influenced me. I think about Kathy Presnell, Barb Skinner, Dave Heffernan. Those were all 3 coaches of mine. So the two first ones were basketball coaches and then a tennis coach. And I think they pushed me.
Yes.
They told me that I could do anything I put my mind to, and certainly my mom did that too. But it's really important when you're in middle school and high school to believe in yourself and have confidence.
Yes.
And that's what, that's the role that those 3 really played for me. And I had the confidence to keep pushing in sports. And, I think you think about business and what makes people successful. In sports, you're working with people and a team, and you're trying to inspire and work together. And those are skill sets that I think are incredibly applicable to work and business today.
So true.
Yeah.
Right, those are some of the basics that you'll need in life to navigate through the business world, other social activities you might be involved with later in life. So basic building blocks, right?
Yeah.
All right, is there anything in particular in your background that led you to this current position? Was there an aha moment?
I don't know if there was one light bulb moment. I mean, I will say I mentioned that I thought I was going to be a lawyer. Well, then I decided to interview 10 lawyers and quickly found out I shouldn't be a lawyer.
All right.
And
That's smart.
yeah, I mean, and everyone said, don't do this. You read all the time. It's laborious. You're not around people. So then I interviewed people in business, and it became very clear to me.
Yes.
Every day was different. It was exciting. They were solving problems. They were creating things from scratch. And so that felt more, aligned with who I am.
Yes.
Yeah. So
That's
that was
interesting.
That was one of the key stories. And then I did a lot of different summer internships. I did one where I was doing development for real estate. I did one where I worked in DC for a senator. And so that was very impactful too, because I learned I don't want to be in politics per se.
Yes.
But I loved the idea of building kind of brands and the message track and how you position, political leaders, like the branding of political leaders was really interesting to me. Yeah.
Can you tell me about something that you or maybe the company tried that didn't work out as it was originally thought would be a great idea? So we're looking around for the idea of when you try something and you fail at it, do you have any failures that could be shared publicly that maybe didn't work out?
I love that question, and it is hard on what you can actually share.
Right.
Because usually you do failures and then you quickly pivot to the next thing. And
Right.
I will say we, like most big brands, we make TV ads and we pride ourselves on taking actions.
Yes.
And we think our innovation and those actions we take, allows us to tell wonderful stories about the brand. And I will tell you, there was one innovation that we worked on that we were pretty excited about. And I think this is an interesting piece of innovation. Sometimes you're like too far ahead for something to be relevant.
Yes.
And we went out and we built the tech and we filmed the ad and we tested it. And it just flopped. I mean, it was, and this was when I first came into my current job. So I show up and we have this flop. And I'm working with our agency to try to find a different angle in or make it work, and nothing worked. I mean, it just was a piece of technology that consumers could care less about, and it made them scared. It was too automatic. Like they didn't like that. So I know I'm being vague, but I think the learning is you go through an experience like that and you realize very quickly, I never want to do that. So what are we going to put in place to ensure we're continuing to innovate, but we're making sure that our innovations are still relevant to consumers before we go invest, $500,000, $1 million in a production that we can't use.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the world that we operate in, because we do a lot of R&D, we consider that we fail. We hope that we're failing more than everybody else, because we tend to be successful. The way my mentor said it to me was, George, you just need to be right 51% of the time.
I know, right?
Right?
Or only 10%, but with a unicorn idea. Like
that works.
Yeah.
So, in this case, it might be the idea between incremental innovation versus radical innovation.
Yes.
Radical innovation is far more risky. Incremental are these little steps forward. You're just, the public's almost there and you're going to supply that solution.
Yeah.
But in the world of failing your way forward, we refer to it that way here. And we think it's important that if you do, first of all, you should be exploring and trying things.
Yes.
So, and if it doesn't work out, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. The idea is look back and do an observation on what happened. What can I learn from that? And can I take that with me and apply that with me in the future?
100%. We constantly talk about failing fast. Fail fast.
Yes.
And get up and go to the next thing. But in the example I shared, it pushed us to create a process that has made us even better in terms of sometimes innovation is so big that consumers can't even appreciate it, and you have to be willing to take the risk.
Yes.
But also listening to consumers about what they don't want. So we put some processes in place that we do a better job at that.
That's wonderful.
And we haven't had one of those examples again, which is good.
That's great.
Yep.
All right. How important is research in your job and business? And can you give us examples of how you use research in your work?
Yeah, we talk a lot about one of our values is being data driven. It's so important in business when you have, you don't have budgets that are endless, right? You have to make really tough choices and prioritize what you're going to focus on. So you want to make sure that you're doing the research, and again, you're hearing from consumers along the way to either validate what your hypothesis is or send you in a different direction. So we use research and data constantly. One example, we launched our Piece of the Pie loyalty program, Piece of the Pie Rewards, in 2015. I worked on that project, and it was incredible, the research we did. Well, first we did the research on what is the program structure. Should it be based on dollars or points? Should it be based on free product? How complicated might it be? And you first hear from consumers, this versus this versus this, and then you build out the model on how much sales can we expect? What's the profitability to our end users, our franchisees in their stores? We even did naming research. What's the right name for a program like this? So it breaks through and it's unique and ownable to Domino's. There were many stages of research.
So for this audience, they may not know what Piece of the Pie is. Could you give us a little brief?
Of course. So, most companies today, and certainly in QSR or restaurant, have loyalty programs. And the reason to have a loyalty program, it almost seems obvious, right? You want people to pick your brand over others because they get something by being loyal to you. Right. And so the business objective for us was to drive frequency, right? We're a high frequency business. People maybe order pizza online 6 times a year. How do you get them through a loyalty program to order a 7th time or an 8th time? And the value of that to a business our size is really large. But you have to weigh it with how expensive is the reward you're giving and what's your end profitability, and then measure that over time. So, that was a very big opportunity and drove a lot of growth for Domino's. But even when you implement a program like that, over time, you have to evolve it. You think about the airlines, right? They're constantly evolving their loyalty programs. Right. Same with Starbucks. That's an example a lot of people know, because you need to keep bringing new customers in and engaging your current customers and ensuring that the program is still profitable.
Did your data say it's a lot less expensive to keep a customer than it is to go and do advertising and find a customer who's never really bought one of your pizzas before?
Yeah.
There's a plus and minus here. If I can sell my pizza and it's what they like, I just need to remind them once in a while, hey, I'm still here. Get my pizza, not those other pizzas that you haven't really experienced yet. So it's less expensive to do recurring sales than find new sales.
100%. Acquisition costs are much higher than getting your current customer to come back an additional time, because they already love your brand.
Yes.
There's something they're already comfortable with. So how do you make it enticing for them to, again, just one more occasion, 2 more occasions?
Yes.
And in a category like pizza, which has been around a long time, and it's essentially a commodity if you look at it that way, you can think about if a consumer does roughly 22 pizza occasions a year, they're not all coming to Domino's. But again, the game is, of those 22, how do I make sure I'm getting more than my fair share or additional ones each year.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so you were in sports, and you've talked a little bit about coaching and that type of thing. How important is teamwork at Domino's?
Yeah, it's literally everything. Nothing we do happens with one person or one team. And I think that's why we're successful. Different teams will lead a different project or a different innovation. And we come together. You've got to have representation and point of view from supply chain, because everything affects supply chain.
Yes.
You've got to have e-com and the IT teams who are going to build it and have it live in an experience on our apps and our websites, right? You have to have them at the table. You have to have PR and communications. Like, how are we going to get people talking about this and position it with media? Marketing, A&I. We just talked about research. How are we going to test this? How are we going to? Maybe we don't have to test the idea because we really believe in it. How are we going to measure it when we're in market? What is success? What are the metrics? We call them KPIs that it's on track or it's not on track, so that you can intervene from there. The list goes on and on. Finance, accounting, all of these experts have so much to offer when they're brought an idea and thinking through the risks and the opportunities of that idea. And I think at Domino's, we're constantly meeting and evolving and collaborating. And I didn't even mention our agency work in progress, our creative teams and our strategy teams there, making an idea bigger. The last partner that's so important for Domino's is our franchisees, right? They are the entrepreneurs and the owners that are so close to our consumer and so close to our product, and they're getting it done every day. We have boards of franchisees that we come through and we bring our ideas to. They give us feedback. We go back, we address their challenges, their concerns, their risks, and then we make the idea better and we come back to them and they align and they say go. So I'm just such a fan and believer, and the best ideas have to be pressure tested and evolved, and at the end of the day you get something so much better than if some person or team goes and does something, comes up with something in a locked room and never brings people along for it.
Right. Yeah, that's a big team. Domino's has a large team. And they're working back and forth this idea, whatever it is, right, to refine it and make it better. That's teamwork. All right, so how about visual communication? The ability to communicate an idea with a sketch or an illustration. How do people get ideas across at Domino's? Is it verbal? Can you sketch out the concept? Does sketching play a role at all?
In our corporate office, people aren't sketching things, but the translation of that for ideas is PowerPoint, right? So if you have an idea and you want to bring people along, of course there's verbal communication, but I think when an idea becomes real, usually the team or the person leading the idea brings it into a PowerPoint presentation and they use visual treatments, sometimes it's a lockup to bring it to life. Sometimes it's imagery that evokes the emotion that you're trying to get across or the benefit you're trying to get across. And certainly, again, for us, we have so many stakeholders with an idea in marketing, right? You get we want to get operations feedback, we want to get their input, or like I mentioned, supply chain, finance. So being able to explain your idea with a story in a very simple way and using visual IDs or logos, it just helps people kind of get the bigness of the idea. So certainly it gets used. I think especially for our franchisees who aren't in corporate offices every day, using visual communication can really bring an idea alive to them. I will say we work with a creative agency who are brilliant at doing this, right? It's paramount. And when you think about today's world with ChatGPT and AI and all the benefits that those can bring along, I don't know that they can do the kind of storytelling that a human thinking about the problem and the solution and the emotion can really do. So I will say we do that in our TV ads, and if we do it well, the story comes across, you feel something, it makes you want to take action. In the digital world today, you have to find ways to do that in 3 seconds and 6 seconds. So how do you use a moment of visual, metaphor to bring your idea to life? That's going to continue to be, the most important thing for marketers. as people's attention spans get shorter and shorter and shorter, how do I tell you my idea in 1 second, 3 seconds? It's a real challenge,
it's tough.
But it's an exciting challenge, because it's not just words. Like we've been talking about, it's visuals, it's sounds, it's music. There's a lot of ways to tell a story, and how do you get to the core of an idea in just a short amount of time?
Right.
Yeah.
So let's chat, if we can turn the conversation a little bit, of the jobs of the future at Domino's. The company continues to evolve. And I think one of the things that's really important to take away is a lot of people might think, Domino's is making pizzas. And I think it would be smart to talk a little bit about, really what's going on behind the scenes, because there are so many different types of jobs that make the entire system of Domino's work, right? You have
100%.
IT, you have, well, go ahead, I'll let you talk a little bit about what kind of opportunities exist in the world of Domino's.
Yeah, there are so many opportunities, and I do think over time you see the, what's the biggest priority to the company and where's the future growth, and you start to see more jobs. So an example is, over the last 10 years, our A&I, so our insights and research team, has grown exponentially. So has our IT team, right? We've been called a technology company that happens to sell pizza. And part of that positioning and the way we got known in that is it's always been around innovation, and in the last 10 to 15 years we've really doubled down on tech innovation, which means you have to have the resources to be at the cutting edge of all the trends within technology, but then have the resources to build out the technology successfully. And so I think about Domino's is known for our pizza tracker, right? We've had it since 2008.
Yes.
When you're in consumer qual groups, everyone talks about the tracker. I always fondly refer to it as like that's how people know when to put on their pants, right? Like the pizza's out the door, it's on its way to you, get ready for your delivery driver. And we've evolved that over time, but that was one kind of chapter in a story of technology innovations that has helped us get known as a tech company that sells pizza. We were the first to do e-commerce on Twitter with the tweet of an emoji, a pizza emoji, and you can order your pizza. Being able to order through your phone, well, obviously your phone, but through a watch, through a TV screen, through your car. Again, it's how do we make it as easy and simple and rewarding to order Domino's. We've been evolving our technology, so that's where the jobs are, because certainly they're important skill sets to be able to build that kind of technology and to partner with Google and Apple and all of the true tech companies out there to make these innovations come to life.
There are lots of different jobs available at a company like Domino's, right? Not just making pizzas. So let's see here. How important is marketing to your business? In what ways do you or Domino's tell others about your goods or services?
Well, I'm obviously biased. I think marketing is really important, and I love it. And I would say everything is important in our business. You just mentioned all the different jobs that we have. Again, it all starts with a store. If we have an adage, if you don't make it, bake it, or take it, you're just here to support those who do. And if you walk into our headquarters in Ann Arbor, Michigan, you walk in, there is a store in the middle of our headquarters. We have pizza prep school there, but it is a reminder to everyone who walks in that door every day, this is why you're here.
Yes.
Like, you're here to help the stores. And it's a really cool respect. But I would say marketing is a very important part of what we do for the brand, right? We make TV ads, we make digital content, partner with influencers. We have the opportunity through marketing to again, tell stories and chapters of our brand. And some of the stories we want to tell is that we have the best product quality and variety out there.
Yes.
And so how do we tell the story of why we did that? Not only have consumers try the product, but have them feel who we are as a brand and feel connected to the DNA that we have around innovation and always trying to improve and being committed to and obsessed, honestly, with the product quality. Because we talked earlier in this discussion about Tom Monahan founded this business on getting hot pizza delivered to you fast. It was a very simple proposition. Well, 60 plus years later, that's still the proposition, right? How do we get, high quality food delivered to you fast? So how do we keep telling stories and taking action to prove that to our consumers? So yeah, marketing is, has a big, exciting job to do. And frankly, most of the time it's about driving sales and orders. But in the pandemic, there was a moment with Omicron and the issues with labor and delivery drivers that we actually pivoted and talked about recruiting and talked about, the fact that 95% of our franchisees and entrepreneurs, our owners, started as delivery drivers. So telling a little bit of that American dream story to really try to tell people that we're not this big corporation necessarily. We are this beautiful ensemble of all these individual business owners that took a risk and oh, by the way, come work for us and you have the opportunity to one day own your own business.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I like that whole concept too of actually building one of the stores right there in your headquarters. I don't know who had that idea, but that was pretty ingenious.
It was, yeah.
That lets you connect every day when you walk through the door, right?
It does, and I mean, that coupled with the fact that if you work at Domino's, you do a week-long training in our stores.
Yes.
So you know how hard it is, and if I'm gonna add something to the make line, an ingredient, what does that do to operations? So it's a really neat thing that there's just such shared respect across the company and reverence and appreciation for all the hard work our team members in store do.
All right. So can we talk a little bit about what you think the next big innovation in your industry is going to be?
I mean, I'd start, and we've talked about it kind of this morning a lot, is innovation is in the DNA of Domino's. It's literally one of our values, create inspired solutions. And Tom Monahan started that, and over the years, there's been so many examples of things that Domino's was the first to do. I invented food delivery. Today, everyone gets food delivered so many different ways, and it's almost like you just feel like we've always had that. We didn't have that in 1960, right? We also, in 2015, we created our DXP, which was a purpose-inspired delivery vehicle for pizza, a warming oven in it. There's not even a place for the passenger to sit. Like, it is dedicated to pizza delivery, right? And then we've dabbled in autonomous delivery and self-driving cars in Houston with Neuro. So there's been many places where innovation and being ahead of voice ordering, Dom is another example. When you think about pizza ordering, from the moment you even think of ordering pizza to the moment that you go through the user experience and you place your order to when our GPS shows the driver coming to your door, there's so many places to innovate along that spectrum. Who knows what we'll come up with next? I mean, last summer we were talking about mind ordering. So maybe there is a moment in the future where we really can predict what you're thinking and place your order before you've even placed your order. So that's kind of an inspirational.
That's far out.
Does that sound cool? I think it sounds cool.
That does sound cool.
But I think the big conversations right now are around AI and Chat GPT, predictive analytics, and I think we're already playing in that place in different parts of our business. So I think that's going to be there's going to be many chapters in the future around that, like just knowing what we know about the consumer and the behaviors. How do we just make it faster, easier, simpler, more rewarding for you?
Yes.
And how do we get you to come back right at the right moment? To drive incremental frequency, which we've talked about is really, really important. So that's delivery. We actually we've been the number one pizza player in delivery for a long time now. We've recently become the number one in carry out. And so I think the pandemic really accelerated consumer behavior to do carry out. I think you're going to see that continue to be a growth opportunity. And then for us, it's how do we innovate? If you want to come to our store, how do we innovate that whole journey? So it's exactly what you want it to be to get in and get out and get the pizza.
Yes.
So those are places. But autonomous is really interesting too. It's it's going to take some time to get there.
Yes, it will.
But there's no doubt in my mind that there's so many innovations we haven't thought of.
Well, that makes it interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
The world of the unknown and challenges, and find some good, hard-working, creative people. Try to be the first at solving those challenges, right? To make a better experience for buying a pizza. Right?
Yeah. You know, right now, I don't know if you've seen CarPlay, right? So we partner with Apple.
Yes.
And the issue or the tension is that, especially post-COVID, these drive-through lines are really long for carry-out consumers, right? And they have to wait in line. Well, with Domino's now, you can skip the line. You just tap on your CarPlay, dashboard, and you can, order your Domino's Easy Order in a moment, in a few seconds, and then head to our store and we'll bring it out to you with our Carside Delivery. It is, how do you, again, partner to use technology to solve a tension or a frustration for consumers.
That's wonderful. That's a great way to look at how to innovate. So I think that's across the board. Most companies are trying to think in a similar fashion in their particular industries, right?
Yeah.
Kate, I can't thank you enough for being here today.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, George.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Tomorrow's World Today podcast. Join us next time as we continue to explore the worlds of inspiration, creation, innovation, and production. Discover more at tomorrowsworldtoday.com and connect with us on social media at TWT Explore. And find us wherever podcasts are available.